Suddenly you became so quiet. Good morning, colleagues. Thank you very much for being here this morning. I think we can start. We were just whiling away time so that we get all our speakers, especially. But we're sure that they will be coming. At least one of them will be coming later. So I think we are ready, therefore, to go ahead with our program. And greetings to the Chief Executive Officer of University South Africa, Dr. Petiwe Matutu, Chief Executive Officer of the Council on Higher Education. I haven't seen him yet. That is Dr. Witty Green. And the Chief Executive Officer, also I haven't seen him yet, of the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the National Research Foundation, Dr. Clifford Ngomani. The Project Director, this project we are launching today, Professor Stephanie Burton, Director of Higher Education, High-End Skills, Mr. Beki Hadebe from DSI, and all the colleagues that are coming from the Department of Science and Innovation, distinguished academics from our various universities. I've seen them, some of them already, including our science councils, colleagues from various organizations across our higher education sector, representatives of donor organizations, our friends from various media houses who are present, colleagues from universities South Africa, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm deeply honored and humbled to be given this opportunity to direct this program. Today we launch Thuso Resources and Thuso Connect platforms under the auspices of Advancing Early Career Researchers and Scholars, a program of Universities South Africa. I warmly welcome all of you and thank you for being here again. I'm Mahlubi Mabizela, as it shows in the program. I'm the Director of Operations and Sector Support at Universities South Africa. This launch program is set to provide you with the genesis behind these platforms, Thuso Resources and Thuso Connect, the problems they are set to address in our higher education system, or otherwise, why do we have these platforms? What they are set to achieve, or the objectives thereof, the impact they are set to have in our higher education system, beyond the problems that they are set to address, and beyond our higher education system. Otherwise, what I've already seen in the media to be said to be the game changer, as well as the potential their success may bring to their future of these two platforms and the future of higher education in South Africa. Having been part of this genesis of the two platforms, it is a background to be proud of, particularly because it is based on identification of a problem, then a study, and then the provision of a solution. A typical approach of what academy demands of us and generally on how we ought to provide solutions to problems instead of basing them on speculations and guesswork. That is evidence-based solution to problems, or what in terms of government approach, what is called the theory of change. During this short launch program from Mr. Beki Hadebe, you will hear about the conception of the study which has brought us to where we are today. Emanating from the findings of the study, from Prof. Stephanie Burton, you will learn about the details of the two platforms and how they are available to our higher education institutions. Too often, government studies and projects end in the reports and nothing thereafter. The launch of the two platforms today is a demonstration of what happens when a vision has been kept alive, leading to a conversion of a study report into a tangible project with little financial resources, I might add. Part of that vision was to get Universities South Africa involvement in the management, thereby driving the vision from onset of the project. I think that was the best foresight on the part of leading officials, and I'm sure you hear that, Dr. Peggy. This is not the first project that government had handed to USAF to manage, and the results speak for themselves. Here with a few examples that may have not been noticed before. Higher Health Program, that actually was the government Department of Higher Education and Training Program, which then was handed over to USAF, and USAF re-established it separately, and now it's like a wildfire. The Entrepreneurship Development in Higher Education, otherwise known as EDHE, again, another project that is hosted, or program that is hosted by USAF, again, which was conceptualized elsewhere in the Department of Higher Education and Training. The Higher Education Leadership Development, also known as HELM program, and now Thuso Resources and Thuso Connect. All these programs that I've gone through emanated from elsewhere in the government departments based on the studies, some of them, and definitely based on the need that exists, particularly in our higher education and training system. So we are here, therefore, to launch these two platforms, and the biggest credit, though, goes to the colleagues in the Department of Science and Innovation, and even in its previous iteration as Science and Technology under the leadership of the DG, Dr. Philip Jwaga. This project having been driven by Mr. Beki Hadebe, from whom I have worked with on various projects, but I think this one cemented the bond between DST/DSI and the university branch of the Department of Higher Education and Training, and even at a personal level between us. So distinguished guests, welcome to the launch of Thuso Resources and Thuso Connect. As you will see in the program that we have prepared for you, there's more that's going to be coming in terms of more detail about this program. But to welcome us this morning, at least, is my boss, Dr. Petiwe Matutu, who's the CEO of USAF, where this work is being carried out. Ma'am, welcome.
Good morning, colleagues. And thank you very much to Mr. Mabizela for making my speech today. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be welcoming you on now that he's done with my speech. Let me acknowledge a number of colleagues who are with us today. We've got Dr. Clifford Ngumani, the National Research Foundation Deputy Chief Executive Officer, National Research Infrastructure Platforms. We've got Professor Stephanie Burton, who's the Thuso Resources Project Leader. We've got the higher education leadership, and before I get there, let me mention Professor Collie Whithen, who's the Deputy Vice Chancellor from Free State. We've got a number of directors for research within our university system. We've got some emerging researchers and scholars who are online. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the media, DSI colleagues, we have colleagues from USAF, we have colleagues from UP, The project has been conceptualized and implemented at various levels. I would like to welcome you all to the launch of this platform to advance early career researchers. It is so exciting for me to be part of this stage of the development of early career researchers. I was at the Department of Science and Innovation at the time when we drafted the Human Capacity Development Strategy, or the Human Capital Development Strategy. And at the time, it was the whole issue of students, postgraduate students, and researchers. That was the first conceptual document which stratified researchers into emerging and established researchers. So all along, we had been working on researchers holistically, whether it's the NRF making calls, whether it's us conceptualizing programs, it was just about researchers. It was only after having had this stratification that we were able then to say, what is happening within this group of researchers? What would it take to take these emerging researchers to the level of being established researchers? And at the time when that was happening, when we looked at the demographics of the country, the professoriate was largely white and largely male, and we needed change within that group of academics. So it was clear that if we always focus on funding of postgraduate students, that was just going to be insufficient for the system. We wanted to have sustainability. And it was very clear according to the demographics that we're not going to have sustainability if we're focused on funding postgraduate students alone. We need to have change. And that change, it was evident that it would only happen when we do something in this gap in between. And that is when we asked USAF, as the Department of Science and Innovation, to carry out the study, to say, what is it that is happening within this group of researchers? And what would it take for this group of researchers to be taken forward? And we wanted just the challenges initially. What were the challenges around it, so that we can be able to drive whatever renewal which is necessary for the system, and whatever sustainability which is required for the human capacity of our system. And at that time, we found out that these established researchers, they were aging as well. So it was not just about race and gender, which was the issue. It was also the fact that according to the age, they were aging, and something had to be done. So we started then to institute the study. On the other hand, Minister Nzimande from the Department of Higher Education and Training, in realizing that we need a much more sustainable system when it comes to the human capacity, introduced the whole issue of a holistic outlook into the human capacity in higher education. And that was, among the others, the introduction of the NGAP program, which created positions for early career researchers or young academics. That assisted a great deal because we knew that while driving the research component, now the positions are created. It was for a few number of years, but it taught universities that we could not afford to always recruit at the top end alone. We have to create entry-level positions so that people are able to be absorbed by our system on a permanent basis, So they created just that incentive, and the universities were required to absorb these academics after some time. And recently, they've had a celebration where they have a number of those academics completing their PhDs. So what then happened is that while I moved to the National Research Foundation, we created another program which is taking into account the challenges that had been identified in the study. But this program was aimed at replenishing the world leaders in terms of our system. After creating this program, at least conceptualizing it, having clarity, I'm quite excited to announce that some of the institutions which are complementing the public higher education system, such as the Oppenheimer Memorial Trust, have decided to pilot that program that we have said that we don't have the money for. So that then is saying to us, we have to work in a collaborative fashion in order to drive the sustainability of the human capacity within our higher education system. So they are busy preparing themselves to drive that program. And that is so critical within the world which is busy scouting at talent. And it's so easy to take our talent in this country if we don't nurture it. It's very important that we consider it as the most important aspect of our higher education system so that we can retain the top-end talent, we can retain the academics holistically, we can replenish our system as people retire, and at the same time, we are in a position to say that you are still within at least the top end, considering the inputs that we put into the higher education system and our research system. So the creation of this platform for us, I would say, is a first. We are using digital platform to promote equity, to promote diversity, to promote inclusion. All along, we have been made to believe that the introduction of digital technologies is supposed to be a negative aspect where we always have to catch up or play catch up. This initiative is saying to us, these digital platforms can do so much to advance inclusion and to advance equity and to advance our needs as society. And for that, we are quite grateful to the USAF for the work that it has done, the collaboration that it has put together within the team which has designed the platform and designed the core tools which are within that platform. I would like to mention the members of the project steering committee which has driven this work. Professor Sibu Moya from Stellenbosch University, she's the DVC. Professor Dina Berger, CPUT Director. Professor Collie Wetpen, I've mentioned her already. DVC Research from Free State. Jessica Singh from Limpopo. Val Theron from HEITSA, that is our higher education IT South Africa. Those are professionals who are heading our IT within higher education institutions. Professor Nosisi Feza from Univen, also DVC, Mr. Begi Hadeba, both the project sponsor from the DSI, and also he has driven this program with such diligence. It's always a pleasure to work with Begi Hadebe. It's seldom that one can say that to someone who once reported to you, but I have to say it today, speak the truth. It is always a pleasure to work with Peggy. You don't have to constantly look at your back on whether things have been done or not. Mr. Chief Mabizela, before joining the USAF at DHET, he also was part of the project, and Ms. Nomvula Tsebe, who is within USAF, within the finance team. And the project team, which was driving the project, is driving the project even now. Ms. Janet van Rijn, she worked with us from the onset in conceptualization of that one, the study, terms of reference, getting service providers, getting the reports or the results out there in the public. And then she was supported by Ms. Sandra Lehong, Dr. Leandra Jordan, Ms. TK Kazimazondo, of course, the project leader I've already acknowledged, Professor Stephanie Burton, who is a USAF research fellow, but a former deputy vice chancellor at the University of Pretoria. And the uniqueness as well of the project is the collaborative nature of the universities. You know that everybody is concerned about the competitiveness of our higher education system. That being encouraged by the incentives that we get given for all the publications which are institution-based. This is history. This is exciting. It's so wonderful to see all the higher education institutions working together to bring in the tools that are required within our toolkit of the Thuso resources. So they have collaborated in that. And then the seasoned academics and researchers who are registering as mentors within the platform. We are so grateful for the work that they are prepared to do. And as USAF, we commit that we will continue to build the repository of resources on the Thuso resources and the database of the mentors on the Thuso Connect, so that the next generation of academics can get the support that they require. The project is advancing excellence, it's advancing inclusion, it's advancing digital technologies and their usage, and it is ensuring sustainability of our system. On that note, then, I would like to declare this launch open. Thanks.
Thank you very much. That's definitely part of this genesis that has taken us to where we are today. And we are going to hear more from Mr. Peggy Hadebe. And so please don't bother about the overlaps that we are having. They are meant for emphasis mainly. Yes, because some of the things are so important that they need to be emphasized. And of course, we're going to keep on saying Thuso Connect and Thuso Resources, so that when you leave here, you really look forward, if you haven't logged yet, because it's live already, if you haven't logged into those, that you are able to then look forward to log in to those platforms. So welcome, Mr. Peggy Hadebe, and you've already had colleagues, the mention of Mr. Peggy Hadebe from DSI, and his leadership and driving the process of the study first, and then indeed the project as we are having it now. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, colleagues. If there was an opportunity to exchange some bribery notes with my former boss. I was gonna talk her into silence about what she just said. But I think the admiration is mutual and is professional. It's the respect, and over a period of time that we were working together. There are few people actually that I characterize as TMs, taskmasters, and dons, DON, doers of note. And Dr. Matutu is an incredible doer of note. Granted, if common sense will dictate that somebody more senior than me from the DSI would have been here, they are held up in various engagements. So this has been delegated to the lowest common denominator, and apologies for that. But even if they were here, I don't think that I would have given them the pride of place and space, this space, because of the passion that I have for this initiative that we drove from its inception in terms of the commissioning, the conceptualization of the study, the commissioning, and then the follow-up activities that we are gathered about here. Granted, we've crossed so many paths, Chief Mavizela, Dr. Matutu, so there will be issues, many areas of overlaps, but then those will be matters of emphasis because, we've been shaped, by the same experiences. We've been exposed to the same information and the challenges and the imperatives, and also, the interventions that we need to put into place to address, some of what might seem as intractable challenges facing our system. Much has been said about the conceptualization of the study, silent majority study, building a cadre of emerging researchers in South Africa. And it sought, at its fundamental, rudimentary level, it sought to answer the questions such as who possesses PhD qualifications in the university's emerging teaching and research workforce. And for that, we use the proxy of lecturers and senior lecturers. Among those, who is actively publishing and who is also actively seeking research funding. But the qualitative aspect of this study sought to understand the environmental context, the enablers and impediments to increasing the number of emerging researchers in the system, in institutions, and also dig into quality issues at an individual level with a focus on Black and women researchers. It's a historic fact that, Yusuf took heed, of this call from the department, and they took the study to their heart, and they ran with it, and they commissioned the study to CREST. But also in a related parallel development, the minister commissioned a task team, the ministerial task team, to investigate issues around the recruitment, retention, and progression of Black South African academics in South Africa, underline Black South African academics in South African universities. So then it was inevitable that one study, the earlier one, was going to fit into the latter one, and that was done. And we've taken the recommendations of both studies and we've presented them to cabinet because, there are intense resource requirements given the history of under support, for the emerging researcher pipeline of the human capital development. The resources are quite reasonable for the next generation of researchers, which is your scholarship, bursaries, and fellowships. Also, they are much more we've got a bigger kit as well for supporting what we call the established researcher programs. But then somehow the emerging researcher band is stuck in the middle. It's stuck in the middle. It's a very difficult terrain to actually navigate. Now, the MTT study found that institutional cultures and practice impediments such as racism, sexism, competing academic responsibilities, lack of role models and mentors, and the inability to embark on a research career are significant barriers that work against the recruitment, retention, and progression of Black South African academics. The study made a number of recommendations, such as universities need to do more to tackle racism and sexism in its all forms and manifestations, and build an anti-racist and anti-sexist society. That progress towards the achievement of equity targets should be built into the performance agreements of university senior management. And that funding for postgraduate studies and recruitment strategies must take equity issues into account. And this is one recommendation that led us, to formulating a new postgraduate funding policy, among others, that provided for full cost of support for particular categories of students, specifically those with acute financial needs to address, the class disparities. The study also recommended that greater participation of African and female South African students in doctoral programs should be monitored and promoted through the instrument such as the DHET University Enrollment Planning. Now, this then begs the question, are we alone? Are we in the cold alone in terms of these challenges? In 2020, South Africa participated in an OECD commissioned survey of different countries under the project theme, quote unquote, reducing the precarity of research careers. The survey project was aimed at providing participating countries with advice and policy recommendations that could promote better strategic planning and management of early career researchers, promote their inclusion and diversity, and also increase the quality of their scientific outputs. This survey report proceeded from the premise that reducing the precarity and uncertainties around the careers of early researchers by improving their working conditions is key to attracting and retaining them. Furthermore, this survey found that in some systems, the research workforce is aging and retiring later. For an example, in the UK, with the lifting of the mandatory retirement age, the mandatory retirement age at 65 years has led to the increase of the faculty within the age cohort of 65 to 75, thus squeezing out opportunities for younger and emerging researchers. In South Africa, it is well documented that the growth in university teaching and research workforce has not kept up with sustained increases in postgraduate enrollments, and that some teaching and research positions have been casualized. This, among others, has led to phenomena such as permadocs. Actually, I've got something. It's not meant to detract from this, but also it's not meant to be a significant red herring. But then we are pathfinders. So as we consolidate on previous studies, we commission other studies. So there's more work, more challenges for yourself in terms of this study that we're going to. It was completed in 2022. It's due for public launch, and it's publicly available. It traced PhD graduates from South African universities between the years 2002 to 2018. And out of a possible universe of 30,000 such PhDs, the study was able to trace more than half of those PhDs within the country, looking at their mobility within different sectors, also to, continental Africa, looking at issues of brain drain or brain gain within the continent. I will just try and skim through in terms of, then we have actually a number of responses that we have put in place to address this chasm. It's difficult for some or for many, but also it's easier for a select few. I cannot not relate to the story that we got exposed to. Maybe this will be in closing because that we got exposed to. It was Monday. In one flagship program of the department, we sent a dozen or so emerging researchers and postgraduate students to meet with the Nobel laureate prize winners in their fields. In 1 year, it's physiology and medicine, in the other it's chemistry, and in the other it's physics. So it's 12 students who then become part of about 600 international students drawn from a range of about 50 countries. And at any given Nobel laureate meeting, there is likely to be between 50 and 60 Nobel laureate winners. And the structure of the program is quite innovative. There are walks. Lindau is a very small island in Germany. There are garden walks you book to have, very, very close-up, interactions with Nobel laureate winners. There are lectures that are hosted in the boats, dinner sessions with Nobel laureate winners. One story that we got exposed to, because we also have a book of narratives about the students who attended this Nobel laureate meetings. There is an Edith Palane. She was part of the Nobel laureate meetings for physiology and medicine. Was able to endear himself, to some Nobel laureate winners. And Edith just emerged from the postdoctoral, fellowship space, is now on her path to become an international star. Because then these Nobel laureate winners, they call on her whenever they are being invited to other speaking engagements. And they go with her. It could be in Korea. They go with her and they just sit and they say, here is Edith. Edith is going to say everything that I need to say. So she has created an international demand for her expertise. Maputi Matiha supports me in this program. I think she will pillory me if I don't mention that we are restarting, because we had a 3-year hiatus because of COVID. We are restarting the hosting of the South African Women in Science Awards. And embedded in those awards are, the pomp and ceremony that we create around, because you need to take rest and reflect and pat yourself at the back. And we remunerate, we reward you handsomely with a prize that has no conditionalities attached to it, apart from ferrying you on a limo from the airport, pampering your nails, your hairs. And you need to start working towards celebrating yourself as much as we celebrate you, the future prides of our nation. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. When you lifted up that report, I wanted to say, bring it on. We are ready for another one. Thank you very much for all that, what you have said. You've given us more, actually, beyond what this is about, and also what is it that DSI is up to these days. Colleagues, I have to move a little bit fast because our next presenter has to be out of here at about 11. This is quite interesting, and probably she will say more about that herself. Enabling research in the era of society 5.0, I think that's how they pronounce it. I was still at 4.0 and still trying to understand actually what 4.0 is, and now we are already on 5.0. But even more interesting with Dr. Oleboheng Selebi. She is the Deputy Director at the Center for the Future of Work. So if you can connect that, the future of work, and also connect it with the research in 5.0, and as well as the fact that her background is on communication. I think she'll be able to merge all this together in this presentation. And of course, we are doing all this work looking into the future indeed. How is the future of work going to be like? And that is what they are dreaming about at the Center of Future of Work. But also in terms of what we are doing now today, when we are launching these two platforms for our graduate students, and of course the supervisors in the higher education sector. So welcome, ma'am. I'm looking forward to hear from you, and certainly I'm sure this audience is looking forward to hear as to what you are having to give us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm so glad because the Center for the Future of Work is an academic center from the University of Pretoria, so I'm very glad to see Prof. Burton here as well and to see her involvement in this very, very important project. So I began my career as an academic at the age of 23, which is very young, right? So you can imagine wide-eyed, 23-year-old, and I remember my very, very first lecture that I don't think I will ever forget. You never forget your first lecture, I think. So I remember walking into the lecture hall for the first time, and one of my colleagues was nice enough to accompany me. So she walked me there, and we got into the lecture hall, and there are probably 400 or 500 students there at that point. So I walk in there, and I am completely frightened looking at all of these faces. And she helped me connect all of my equipment. Okay, the projector is working. I said, yes, the projector is working. And she said, okay, fine. Are you fine? I said, yeah, I'm fine. Then she said, okay, good luck. And she walked out, and I now had to present a lecture for the first time. And that was when I realized that academia has a very strong culture of us having to work very independently. So that was my wake-up call, that nobody's coming, you have to figure out how this whole thing is going to work, right? So as academics, we're taught pretty much from the word go that you have to learn how to work independently. And when I completed my PhD, it was a very similar feeling, because you spend 3, 4, 5, 6 years, however long it takes, because every PhD is different. You spend all of these years working on this thesis. And anyone who has gone through this process, you would know that a PhD literally consumes your entire life, right? Everything becomes PhD. And once you're done with the PhD, you start trying to figure out what's next in my career. Where am I going now? And the only thing you hear is publish or perish. And then you think, okay, so how am I supposed to do this publishing thing, right? No one has really explained this process to me. I still have to now, again, independently figure out how I am going to do this. So I would say when we talk about Society 5.0, and I'll briefly explain what that is, we desperately need technologically enabled platforms that allow us as early career academics to collaborate with not just seasoned academics, which is very important, but also with other early career academics, right? We need to break down those silos. It's so important. And technology is there to enable that process, right? So one thing I've noticed even as an academic is sometimes we don't even know what the person in the next office is working on, right? So you'll be working on some research only to find that probably just a few doors down, there's somebody working on something very similar. And had you worked with them, you would have produced a much stronger output than you working on your own, right? So not even the fact that we don't know what people in other universities are doing, we barely even know what the person down the hall is doing. So at the Center for the Future of Work, I think I should just talk very briefly on what the center is. The Center for the Future of Work at the University of Pretoria looks into what skills will be needed in the future and how do we prepare people with the correct skills to adapt to all of the changes that are happening in the work environment. And our center is, and I'm going to use words we use all the time, it is inter and transdisciplinary. And as academics, we talk a lot about the importance of inter and transdisciplinary research and collaboration, which are words I've heard today as well. But again, we keep on being drawn as academics to, I have to work on my own, because that's the culture that we've created. So working at the Center for the Future of Work has taught me that in recent years, the technological and AI revolution, it has brought about a lot of discomfort for a lot of people, right? Around the influence of technology on the way that we work. Many of us still ask the question, will ChatGPT steal my job? But the reality is that technology and technologies like Thuso Resources and Thuso Connect are there in order to accelerate the way that we work, and also to accelerate the impact that we have on society as academics. So technology is not there to steal the work that we do, but rather it's there to help us, to enable that work, to make it easier and to make the work even more impactful. And that is what Society 5.0 is. Society 5.0 is about a society where we can resolve various social challenges by incorporating the innovations of the fourth industrial revolution. So it's about creating a human-centered society that is assisted by technology, not completely subsumed by technology. So Society 5.0 is not something that is coming in the future. We are currently living in Society 5.0, and Thuso Resources and Thuso Connect show us that that is absolutely true. So as you know, Thuso Resources is a national toolbox of helpful resources for early career researchers and scholars. And I know that it would have helped me when I was an early career academic, but now that I'm still an early career academic, it will still, platforms like this will continue to help me to establish myself as a researcher and help me to add to the lacking African body of knowledge on the subject of the future of work. I can use this platform to find relevant articles and to reach out to potential collaborators, not just at the University of Pretoria, but across the country, which is phenomenal. And then Thuso Connect will help me to access the mentorship that every early career researcher desperately needs. And as I was thinking about this last night, it made me realize that it's like Tinder, but instead of a date, you get a mentor, which is fantastic. So the era of working in silos is over. And one of the most important skills that we find in the future of work, or one of the most important skills of the future, is the ability to work effectively and efficiently with others. This shows the importance of collaboration in the current and future workplace, especially for us as academics. So I'll end off with a quote by Chuck Page. And this quote reads very simply. It says, "A single leaf working alone offers no shade." Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I can hear those years of since that first day of your lecture. And the accumulation of that experience, it comes out nicely. Well done to the University of Pretoria. Thank you so much for that input. And you also speak like someone who's already had this experience of making use of these platforms. And yes, we're looking forward to that future where we are, after having accessed these resources, of course, but also that future that we are shaping ourselves for, which is the future of work. And indeed, Society 5.0, yeah, I know the youth calls it 5.0, yeah, 5.0. Thank you so much for that input. We appreciate it. Now, to the person who has been with this project, as you have heard, and please, colleagues, do access that report. It's still out there. I think it's still on your website, Peggy. And it's a silent majority. When you come across that term of silent majority, just know that this is where this project is based on. Prof. Stephanie Burton has been there since we spoke about the silent majority. Then the work came out, the report that is, and then the implementation of it. She has been there so long that when she was involved at the beginning, she was still the DVC of research at the University of Pretoria. And now she has since left, and maybe some people have even forgotten that she used to be the DVC of research at the university. And of course now working for USAF, particularly on this project, but also another head that she wears within USAF is that within the Research and Innovation Strategy Group, where this work is located, there is also a community of practice that has been established, and she has been part of the establishment of that community of practice called, you can see it there, the COP PGES, Postgraduate Education and Scholarship. So Prof. Burton is going to be giving us that excitement of how this whole thing works of Thuso Resources and Thuso Connect. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much indeed. And thank you everybody for being here today. This is indeed the culmination of several years of work, work which I think most of you know I'm very passionate about and have been for a very long time. So it is really exciting to be able to show you what it is that we have and what we've developed, starting from a beginning where it was indeed a question, I think this should be high, a question of what should we do and what are the ideas. So I am going to take you through part of this. I'm also going to hand over in the middle of it to my colleague, Dr. Leandre Jordan, who is going to present some of it to you as well, because she has been a very integral part of the developments that we have had. So this is starting from the Advancing Early Career Research and Scholarship Program. And let me just take you through the introduction to it first of all. But I do want to acknowledge very wholeheartedly the enormous contributions that have been made by the colleagues in the Department of Science and Innovation, not just the financial support for which we are very grateful, of course, and that has been consistent and continuing, which is well, it's essential, but also for their interest, their support, their input as we have gone along this whole path. And then, of course, Universities South Africa, I'll say a little bit more about that as we go, but it has been an honor to work with Universities South Africa on this project. So the background to it all, as you have heard from the colleagues, we started with the study on building a cadre of emerging scholars, which was a report that was done, sponsored by the department, which was then the Department of Science and Technology. There was also a report of the ministerial task team on the recruitment of Black South African academics, and that led to a lot of discussions between ourselves at Universities South Africa, but also with the DST, the NRF, and the Department of Higher Education and Training at that stage separate. And we had interviews with Deputy Vice-Chancellors and Directors of Research, using often the vehicle of the Research and Innovation Strategy Group. But we gathered a great deal of information and did an extensive mapping exercise. I ran a program of interviews online, some of them in person, with members of all of the South African public universities, DVCs and directors, and gathered a great deal of information, which we put into a report, which was the report you can see the bottom left-hand side of that slide, which we talked about implementing the outcomes of those previous reports. And that was a very extensive study, also available online if you would like to look at it. But that led to a number of recommendations and the establishment of this program, the Advancing Early Careers Program. So it has taken many steps, but there is a great deal of evidence behind all of that. What it led to was, first of all, an overview of what were the gaps and needs in the whole sector nationally in terms of developing early career academics. And the main areas of concern that came out of it were on training and supervision, the importance of networking our early academics into the system, and then mentorship and evaluation. The monitoring and evaluation section we'll come to a little later, but one of the common threads that came through this is that we do all have some interventions in place in our different universities, but we actually don't know what the impact is. And as far as the whole sector was concerned, we really didn't have any measure of what is the impact of what we are doing. So we started by looking at the supervision training and the capacity for supervision and the need for which was expressed by many institutions for improved supervisor training and mentorship of the emerging academics. We also were aware at the time of the need for more capacity, more supervisors, because we were growing the number of doctoral students in the country. We still aim to do that. We still haven't hit that magic number yet, which was in the National Development Plan, but we are still working on that, and every PhD student needs at least one, hopefully more, supervisors. So there was also an acknowledgement that we needed to develop institutional capacity. So within the different universities, there was a very variable amount of supervision capacity and an expressed wish to develop the capacity within our developing institutions and those that had not had such long programs of postgraduate research. And then, of course, the quality of supervision is something that we talk about all the time. We still talk all the time about the quality of supervision, but also the need to reduce the stress in terms of workload, and because quality needs to improve, then improve the level of stress on our postgraduate students. So all of that we bundled into that heading of supervision training and capacity. The acknowledgement for mentorship you've heard already mentioned by the others earlier. It's certainly something that we acknowledge. Mentorship is not simple. But the understanding that people who are developing careers need wisdom and guidance from those who are more experienced than themselves. So that became another issue, but we knew from the feedback from all the institutions that setting up mentorship programs had not been simple. There were a number of issues that had come up in terms of things like institutional culture and power dynamics, and that it would be helpful for early career academics to have access to mentors and the wisdom of those mentors from a wider sector, across the sector. So that's where we have been working there. And of course, we did at the time acknowledge, and we still do, the shortage of Black South African mentors who can assist. And then I'll get back, as I say, to the monitoring and evaluation, but we know that we needed to measure that impact. So out of all of that came 4 major recommendations or interventions. So the community of practice for postgraduate education and scholarship is one of them. I'll talk about that now. And then the 2 that we are launching now, the Thuso Connect and Thuso Resources. These were 3 of the interventions that we recommended. And the monitoring and evaluation part, I'm looking for Becky, it's still coming. So let me talk briefly about the community of practice, which we set up, we launched during last year, actually 2021, and is now it's ongoing and very much very active. But it's a sector-wide community of practice, of course focusing on postgraduate education and supervision and scholarship. And the whole idea is to empower people through this community of practice. Enhancing the supervisory capacity in the sector. This is a community. It's a group of people. It's open to anybody who is interested and wishes to contribute. And it's all about scholarship and supervising postgraduates. The idea is to sustain the sector and to build quality and to build expertise. It allows for peers to interact. There are representatives in the community of practice from all of the universities. It's not just, certainly not just the DVCs, but also directors of postgraduate colleges, members of the academic community, members of faculties who are interested in developing the quality of postgraduate supervision. And it allows for discussion. We hold seminars, and we will be having a conference later, the first one later this year, focusing on all sorts of aspects of postgraduate supervision. We are sharing knowledge through that community of practice. We have a very strong collaboration with the Saatchi Chair in Teaching and Learning at University of Johannesburg. We also have a strong partnership with the Postgraduate Center at Rhodes University and a number of other active sectors, but there is sharing of knowledge for all universities and offering excellent programs through Thuso Resources as well, which can be shared, because it's not that there is no capacity, it's just that it's uneven and there is an acknowledged understanding that we can collaborate. And I want to just say that that came from conversations which were held with the Deputy Vice Chancellors for Research over a number of years, in which we said to each other often, we can collaborate, we have resources we can share. And that's where the concept of Thuso Resources really came from. And then the development of institutional capacity also is something that the community of practice is contributing to in order to help with increasing that number of academics and increasing the level of expertise. And then with the COVID pandemic came a realization that we also needed to be able to conduct our supervision and our training online. So that's another focus. So what are we doing? Well, that's it. We are a group of people who share all these concerns and have a passion, of course, for the topic. Anybody who has heard me talking about postgraduate supervision will know that this has been a passion of mine for many years. So what do we have in it? We have a core group. We have a coordinator. I am at the moment the chair of the steering committee for the community of practice. There is a steering group, a small group of interested and passionate people who assist and advise. And then there is a kind of an outer circle of any interested members who may be novice supervisors, they may be already practitioners who would like to share their knowledge, and they may be collaborating focus groups and so on. We will have a knowledge repository. In other words, we'll record and manage all of our learned knowledge. We have some multidisciplinary working groups developing. The first was a working group on postgraduate funding, which is certainly very important, and we know that's a major issue. And then we will be discussing monitoring and evaluation processes. So for individuals, the benefits are around developing knowledge and skills. For institutions, the benefit is around improved quality and performance in the postgraduate supervision sector. There is, of course, the benefit of relevance within the whole ecosystem and serving the user needs across the whole sector, which is not just the universities, but also departments and some private institutions. And the responsibility of the community of practice is to coordinate all of that for the national sector. So there will be, we haven't actually committed it to paper yet, at least not formally, a strategic plan which is about how we can innovate and adapt in terms of capacity for supervision and create a vision for the future of postgraduate supervision and scholarship in the whole national sector. And that's our value proposition. So it's a community, it's a forum, it's a think tank, it's a lobby to advocate. It's also an opportunity, as I've said, to coordinate all of the national activities, and we are working quite hard on that. I actually do have just entered a partnership with Rhodes University to start to do a little more in terms of coordinating national activities, but we are a national platform, and we do include, of course, our partners, so we connect with the DHE and the NRF with the programs that they already have. And then we will be, as I say, collating information and facilitating all of that collaboration. Just to finally say the last thing about the community of practice, the kind of focus themes we talk about are not only the practical issues around postgraduate supervision in terms of nuts and bolts, but also the doctorateness. What does it mean to be a postgraduate? What do we mean when we talk about a PhD? And of course, there's been some recent developments around that with the doctoral degrees report. We will also focus on advocacy and particularly funding, but also accountability and responsibility and coordination of some national activities. The focus areas right now are the ones on the right-hand side of this slide: research integrity and ethics, student mobility, funding, supervision itself, mentorship of postgraduates, and then certification of some of the short programs that we have. So that brings together all of the community of practice activities, and it leads us on to what we are now launching today, Thuso Connect and Thuso Resources. Thuso Connect, the mentorship part of all of this, as you've already heard a little about, and Thuso Resources, which is, and I would like to just at this stage just acknowledge one of my long-term colleagues in all of this, Dr. Rob Drennan, who is at Wits University, who coined the phrase a national toolbox of resources for early career researchers, which we now call Thuso Resources. So I'm going to hand over in a moment to Leandra, but this is just to say that we have engaged with all of the universities in the country. We have got a steering committee for the community of practice, and we've used that as a launch point for the two platforms that we have now. We have conducted a discussion, an ongoing discussion with the RISG, the Research and Innovation Strategy Group of USAF. We have had, as I say, discussions with HELM, with DSI, with DHET, NRF, and also now more recently with SANLIC, the South African National Library and Information Consortium, and then all of those one-on-one sessions that we've had with universities. So we must acknowledge the contribution of all of these organizations in putting together these two platforms. And now let me hand over to Leandra, who is a researcher in this program, and she's going to demonstrate them for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I always feel a little bit bad being the systems person who gets to present the fun of the work. I get to do the fun part. I also get to do the hard part, but this is the fun part. So I'm going to jump right in to Thuso Connect. First, I'm going to just tell you, we started by going and saying, let's do some research and see, can we benchmark a little bit in the world? What are other countries doing? What are other mentorship programs doing? And I spent many weeks or months reading research articles, looking for ways people are implementing mentorship. One of my big key things was, is any country in the world attempted, or are anyone doing this? Can we go somewhere and say, we want to do this to help us? And I can tell you that in terms of our research, we couldn't find such a platform or such an attempt anywhere. It might be out there, smaller countries or countries that are not publishing in English. But I know for a fact from the research learning that Asia, for instance, or the Asian sector, mentorship there is a culture. They don't have programs in companies and in universities that says, you must now mentor and you must become a mentee. They do it as part of their cultures. So you won't find systems there. And I found some very interesting things. So from all the research, this was the key things that led to us deciding on the system that we've decided on. Matching mentors and mentees can be very complex. Matching people's personalities overall. Prof and I were having a giggle at Dr. Celebi's comment on Tinder. Believe it or not, we did start there. Both of us led and got there very quickly and said, you know, they're having success. They're matching personalities and people are not necessarily in the same place, or they are, but they're succeeding. So we went there and we looked at what do they do and why are they succeeding. Then, of course, we looked at the system itself. We wanted to initially explore, are we building this for South Africa or are we using something that exists? This is an expert system. And that changes the game. Resources is a place where we put information for people to find. This system needs experts to drive it. The information in here is knowledge. It's not information. It's people's knowledge that we've put in here. So it changed the game a little bit for us. We needed to go and look at that. The system would require, obviously, a development life cycle that any system has. And part of that, if you're building a system, is troubleshooting. My colleagues at V4 Creative, who helped us with the resources part, know we've been troubleshooting things for months. And we've been the guinea pigs dealing with that mostly. So now some of the users will obviously also assist us with that. But in this case, we're going to have mentors, people with years of experience trying to have a mentorship partnership with someone, and mentees who are younger, and we're a little bit more decisive and we want things to happen quickly. So if there's a lot of troubleshooting and issues, we might lose the people that's actually now on the system, and we didn't want to do that. We wanted something that's ready to go and they can use it without too many issues. There's a lot of soft skills in mentorship, and it takes years to build that skill set. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's not an easy thing to learn other people to do. So with this, we said, okay, we cannot build this. In the amount of money that we have and the time that we have to put this out, we don't have what we need in order to make a success of that. And we want the success part to be there. We don't want to just build something and say, we've done it, thank you very much, goodbye. This needs to succeed for South Africa. So where we went then is we looked at systems that exist. South Africa doesn't really have a mentorship system on this scale that we could use. We had to go outside. And we found Wisdom Share. Very important for us was the people who work there are experts in mentoring. This is not a software company. There are many of those who design software and put it into companies and universities, and they do succeed, but they're a software company building mentorship platforms. That's not what we were looking for. And they've been in existence since 2001, so we've got decades of experience with the system included. Some of the things that we were very keen on with them is high security levels. They do measure their program results. Remember, our other component of this is monitoring and evaluation. We want to know, are we succeeding in this? Their matching algorithm is proprietary, so can't really share that in detail, but they claim a 98.6% matching success. And I'll show you on some of the things that they match why they can claim that. And then also their engagement rates are around 70%. It's a very high retention rate in mentorship programs. So that got us very excited about them. We looked at them and we looked at a number of others, and we then zoned in on Wisdom Share as it's software as a service. So we're also not hosting this. Technically, it's with them. And the benefit of a system like this, as companies around who's using it is developing and adding new information to the system, we get the benefit of that. And our information will also then benefit them. Whereas resources we have to keep building and innovating there on our own, we will have that benefit here. So that's the platform right now. You can see we've put a little bit of information, and you can join our community. It's live. You can go on and log in and create your profile. You're creating a professional profile. Think of something like LinkedIn. So it is going to take you about 15 minutes or so to just do that. We need a biography and a few other questions in order to create this. But if you think in terms of mentorship, we're not asking you to come to networking sessions hour after hour in hopes that you meet someone. That person that you can mentor might be in the room, but you don't know because you're standing there talking to a colleague you haven't seen in 10 or 15 years about something. So you put your profile there, and the system will do the work for you. You'll probably forget that you've registered, and at some point you'll get an email to say that you've been matched. So it's taking a little bit of the groundwork out of it for everybody. And it opens the world. Someone in Mpumalanga can now be matched with someone in the Free State or Western Cape because of their personalities, not because of their location. And that's what we want. I'm opening the link to show you that it is live. We're not just going to show you on presentations. Although because it's a system that you have to complete, I'm going to go back to the presentation and show you inside. We can't really do that here. Putting in my name and details will take forever. We don't have that kind of time. Right, so proof of life, as they say. Right. This is what you will find when you log in. One of our first questions that we ask is in which disciplinary area are you? So you can indicate that. People can be matched on their fields, but there's also some other leadership skills and things like that that we ask. Are you interested in career planning, influencing, critical thinking? We've adapted this and localized it to South Africa. This is not American terminology you're seeing. This is us. And both the mentor and the mentee will complete this and hopefully match, because if I've got skills in goal setting and the mentee is looking for goal setting skills, then that will help match them. Then we've had some comments on the hobbies and interests. This is a personality question, just to make sure that people who have some things in common beyond their work could potentially also be matched. So I'm a runner, and I know we're a bit of an odd group, and we do share some of the same interests. It would probably be easier for me if my mentor understood that, and when I say I'm going for a run, be okay with it, and not be, it's like, oh, okay, fine, go for the run, we'll chat afterwards. I don't always have that. So I said earlier on what the success rate and retention rate is that Wisdom Share shared with us. So we think success rate, if we get around 80 to 90%, it's 10% less than what they have. But considering the scale, that would be really good. And then in terms of retention, if we can hit the mark on around 60%, that's also very good. 60% retention means 60% of early career academics who had no one to guide them now has someone. There is more to the system than just the matching algorithm. There's an entire system, in what they call it milestones, that will guide you through this process. In the research, many of the research project highlights that The reason mentorship programs fail, and they fail a lot, almost half of the research, if not more, mentions failure, is the fact that mentees don't know how to be a mentee, and mentors have some skills, but do they necessarily, if you've got knowledge, it's very hard to share that because you just know things. You're not sure why you know them anymore. So the program will help with that. Mentees will get guided on how to ask proper questions, how to do goal setting in order to succeed in this partnership program. You'll sign an agreement, a mentorship partnership agreement between the two, so both of you know what your goals are and where you are working towards. And then there's some learning material. There's a lot of extra additional information in the system to help everybody just work through it. There's just the screen on those learning materials. Simple things, planning meeting agendas for your mentoring. Are you meeting once a week, once a month, after hours, within hours, online? Are you having coffee? Some partnership guidelines, how to create meaningful goals. So there's a lot of resources in there. We've also worked through all of these. They're localized for South Africa and specifically for academics. It's not business information that we've put in there. These are just some of the examples, so useful questions, there's some help with that, and then also creating the goals. So as far as we know, we've mentioned now, this project is rather unique. Nowhere we found something on this scale and on this level in the world. And there are companies or universities or government departments who use the software and who have software that they use, but the culture will be the same. So universities or our higher education sector, we're all the same, but we're differently the same. We do the same things, but we do it differently. So that will be an interesting outcome to see if those cultures work on this mentorship platform. We want to just mention at this point, our focus is to register mentors first. So we would like to ask you, if you do consider yourself someone that can be a mentor, please register. Please encourage your universities and the people that you know to do so. We want as much mentors on there before we go to the mentee level, so that people are matched easy and quickly, and it's not a mentee sitting there hoping for weeks or months on end because we don't have enough mentors. Okay, now we're going to move on to Thuso resources. This one I'm demonstrating live for you. I hope so. Right. I'm aware that many people have spent so many hours with us on this site now that it feels like home. And we deeply appreciate everybody who has contributed and sat through those sessions with us as we worked on this, because I think the result is phenomenal. We've done something here that's just really, really good. I was working on this yesterday in order to prep for this, and I started looking at the keywords and getting interested in the information that I put there. I started looking, and I'm like, you don't have time for this. You need to come back later. So I know it's good. And Dr. Selebi mentioned her experience getting into the classroom and just being told, go for it, and then having to start publishing. And I had very much the same experience. I walked into a classroom, I had no idea, and I'm still expected to publish. And sometimes you're like, okay, I have an idea, but not enough. So we've considered that when we worked on the system. You don't know what you don't know, and we know what they must have, but they don't know necessarily. So we've created several ways to access information on this platform. There's the categories at the top. So if something catches your eye there, we've got research design and the funding and the publishing. So there's a way to get in. In resources, that's a little bit more humanized, so be productive in your research. Emerging academic resources that we need to change that back, David. And then goal-focused organizations as well. Then you've got the nice icons that you can access onto. And I will open one of the fields now, We are driving open source as much as we possibly can. Those resources are out there, and we always here use them. So we've put several, as much as we could find, we've put on here, and we welcome anybody to add to the list for us. So as you start navigating down on the open access, you'll find all kinds of platforms. There's open source data and open publishing, there's open tools, there's educational resources. We've really put what we could find and what people have shared with us onto this. It's important to us to give open sources a place, along with the university information, which would be, this is now all open, I haven't logged in. That would be behind, and you'd need to sign up. We'd need to validate you as an emerging researcher in order to get access to the universities who are then sharing their information, because that information is for emerging researchers within the sector only. It's not for everybody to share. That's a bit more of a closed sector. So on the right-hand side, you'll see a bunch of keywords. If you then open one, predatory journals, I've been following that. What a nightmare we're having with that. Perish or publish was mentioned, so we have that in there. Qualitative research, research ethics. If you open one of those, so if you're an emerging researcher, you don't know what you're looking for, hopefully one of those keywords will guide you as well. And if you open one of them, all the articles that relate to the topic will be there for you. You can go back to the keywords. So everything is dynamic and interlinked. You can move around the system. I just want to go back to the homepage. Colleagues, we do have the option for universities to share the information, but if you go to our homepage, there is a sector for you to also become a contributor. If you know of anything that you can share already, that you please use that function. We do have a content review committee planned, and they will have content review criteria in order to put the information on there, but these will also be experts in their fields. We welcome any and all contributions. There's also a feedback form, so if you've got comments and information for us, you're welcome to complete that too. From this system, you can use Google Analytics, but we've gone a step further. We're creating our own analysis dashboard. We want to know which universities are engaging and how many people are engaging, and a bit more insights that we can use rather than just analytics. Analytics is just data. You have to go always searching for your insights, and I don't want to leave my colleagues with that kind of slog work. So we want to quickly see where's our success points, where do we need to up what we are doing. Professor.
Thank you. It's amazing what you can achieve when you have an expert to help. So this is just the last couple of minutes of this presentation. And I just want to say, before I go on to the next part of it, that you've heard Leandra indicating where we are with those two platforms. And what we are actually saying now is this is the invitation. The invitation for Thuso Connect is for you and your colleagues to consider registering as a mentor, and I would like to appeal to all of you as you represent your own organizations to take that message back. We will be able to provide you with all of the information, but we would really be now encouraging established, wise people. Not all wise people are old, right? But established people who can offer mentorship to please register and be prepared to walk this next step with us to take forward the Thuso Connect database and be able to provide that kind of national mentoring. I'm immensely proud of what we've developed here, and I'm really hoping that it will be very successful, but we are depending, of course, on our academic community to do that. And because I got asked the question the other day, it does include people who, for example, are retired, and we will be approaching those groups through some of the professional and academic organizations. And then, of course, the next invitation will be to mentees to join and to take advantage of what we've put together there. And then the other invitation is to all of the institutions to contribute to Thuso resources. You've seen how slick it is, how easy it is, but we need to keep it up to date, and we need the contributions of all the different universities and other organizations. So again, the invitation is to be a part of that, contribute, be a partner with us to provide the kind of toolbox that our early career academics need. Okay, so one word about the monitoring and evaluation. There's another slide, hey? Yeah, thank you. And just to say, the next and fourth intervention which we are working on now is to monitor the impact of these interventions. But more than that, this monitoring and evaluation step will be again available to all of the institutions to use for themselves as well. So if you have in your institution some support interventions, we will offer you this system to measure the impact of what you are doing in your institutions as much as we are doing in the sector. Where we are with that at the moment is right at the beginning. We are consulting further with all the universities as to what they need and expect and what they have. And then we'll consider what is already available, and we'll set up a kind of a partnership with all of the national organizations. And here, I am now looking that the NRF and DHET colleagues have some of this in place already. So we will work together. And then we'll develop the terms of reference and put the whole system in place. It's going to need some experts because this, again, is very technical in the background. But what we want is something as easy to use as Thuso resources. So that's where we are with the Thuso monitoring. That may not be its formal name, but we'll think of something slick to give it as a name. And as I say, that also will be then an invitation to everybody to participate. So I just would like to end this by offering some thanks. First of all, specifically to the role players. You've heard their names already, but I would like to say an enormous thank you to the USAF team, to Janet, who has put it all together and has always been there to help us make it all fall into place, and also to the team who are all listed there who have been supporting all of this work. I also would like to acknowledge David and the V4 Creative team who have also worked with us to make it all look so good. And then, of course, my thanks to the DSI, to Becky, who has worked consistently with us and been very supportive. Also to Phil Majahwa, who has also listened and supported for a long time and remains a supporter of what we are doing. And let me just say, we also have some little promotional videos that we've put together, and they feature all of these people. So we will make those available to you so that you can take all of this back to your institutions. And then finally, let me just say an enormous thank you to the colleagues from the Deputy Vice-Chancellor's community, the research leadership community, all of those who have worked with me initially in many discussions over a long time, and also all of the colleagues who are now participating, the people who are here in the community of practice, in the steering committees and the working groups. This is not something that it was, of course, initially a dream of a small number of people, but this is not a small community. This is a big one now. And I think as a nation, as a higher education sector, we have something that we've built that we're very proud of. And that certainly has not been an individual effort. It certainly has been a joint effort. And I'm enormously grateful for all the support that I have had and that we continue to receive. I think that's all I needed to say. So thank you very much for your attention, and there are a few more remarks to be made. But I hope now you have a real grasp of what it is and that you will continue to walk the path with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that capturing presentation. Colleagues, we're going to make this presentation available. And if you thought that I was going to present again, definitely not. Everything that is put there next to my name, you know, community of practice, postgraduate education, and so on, Thuso resources and so on, all of it is here in the presentation. So you'll have access to that. We will see if we have some time, maybe for one or two questions later on, and then just before we close, because you might be having a question. But I suspect many of the things that you were thinking about in the form of questions, in form of information, it probably has been covered already in that presentation. So we shall move on to our last guest, Dr. Clifford Ngomani, who's the Deputy CEO at the National Research Foundation. I had introduced him earlier on, and certainly Dr. Matutu also when he walked in. So Dr. Ngomani, please, the platform is yours. Thank you.
Good, I think it's afternoon now. No, not yet. Good day, colleagues and friends. It's good to see some familiar faces. It makes you feel that you are not lost. You're in the right place. I just want to acknowledge Dr. Petwe Matutu, the CEO of USAF, the leadership of the higher education sector that's present here in the room and online. Prof. Burton was the project director, representatives of the departments of science and innovation and higher education and training. On behalf of the NRF, we would like to congratulate USAF and its partners and collaborators on the launch of Thuso Resources and Thuso Connect, really as concrete deliverables on the project that looks at how do we support the development and advancement of early career and emerging researchers and scholars, which is, I think, is what they all hope to be. I was just interested in the earlier presentation about the experience of being a lecturer and being there in front of the people you're supposed to teach for the first time. I think you had a better situation, Dr. Selebi. Me, I froze, in the middle of explaining DNA replication. So you can just imagine that you had to find creative ways of dismissing the class while you're trying to, recompose yourself. So emerging researchers and scholars have sometimes been referred to as kind of the missing middle, and those in higher education know where that comes from, of the research and academic cohorts. Because what happens is that I come from the NRF, so we put up all the systems and requirements and criteria for people to be eligible for funding, from us as funding agencies. And guess what happens is that we define all of these systems very well for postgraduate students, okay, from honors all the way through to PhD, and then for the established researchers, your rated researchers and everybody else. But there's nothing for your emerging and early career researchers, because they will say that, you must have passed this and this and this, but, you have your PhD. But they will also say that in order to apply, you must demonstrate your distinguished career, and evidence of your experience as a researcher. But you just gone past maybe your postdoc, your second year of postdoc. So you are better than a postgraduate student, but you're not quite, an established researcher. So I think the notion, therefore, of saying that you've got to provide bespoke modalities and instruments to support people that find themselves in this situation so that they don't just have to find their way themselves, but there are mechanisms and systems and processes that help to enable their progression. The quest for career advancement does require a number of things, and I think many of them have been mentioned here. The first being you need access to, as I said, bespoke or customized, but quite importantly, fit for purpose resources to be able to do what you need to do. Whether it's writing a research proposal or writing, a proposal for funding, or teaching for that matter. Because also that's the other thing that just because you have a PhD, everyone expects you to be able to teach, which is, it's not quite true. So you've got to be able to have this access to customized and fit for purpose resources. Secondly, is that you've got to have funding. You've got to have access to funding for the projects that you would like to do. Otherwise, you're not going to be in a position to gain experience as a researcher, let alone being a scholar, in the future. And the third thing is then the guidance and mentorship that supports you in order for you to be able to make best use of the resources and the funding and other engagements that you might have to help you to navigate the tricky pathways to becoming an established and a leading researcher or scholar. So the Thuso resources and Thuso Connect facilities that are being demonstrated and shown today, they address these, individually and collectively, and thus fill a critical gap in terms of what one needs in order to grow and develop as an emerging researcher and a scholar of the future. Now, a combination of high-quality resources on the one hand and guidance on how best to utilize those resources is, in a way, helping one to unleash the potential of any individual along the professional growth path. Mentorship that sharpens and improves your ability to make the right choices and to pick the right options about what are the action steps that you need to take as you seek to grow yourself, to grow your experience, and to mature as a researcher and a scholar. It doesn't come naturally for you to have the necessary discernment about what you must do or not do along this path. You therefore need mentors to help you to navigate those choices. Okay, so as an emerging researcher, do you try and chase every grant, or do you sit and wait and say, okay, I need this level of grant to do this level of quality of work for the long term, instead of chasing every 50,000 rand that the NRF puts in front of you? Okay, we don't have 50,000 rand grants, but you understand what I'm trying to say. So while the individual effort, I think this is quite important. So we can put these resources in place and make them available as people who are outside of the higher education system. But while the individual effort of the people that we target as these emerging researchers and scholars will be pivotal in advancing their own growth and development, institutional support cannot be missed. And it means that the institution itself has to have established and maintained an appropriate research culture that will help to accommodate and to support the people who are seeking to utilize the various resources that are being made available to them. So these resources must of essence be complemented by those made available by the home institution. Otherwise, you do not have an anchor, that grounds you and ensures that you don't get shifted from your focus of growing and developing and maturing your knowledge and your expertise. And so it applies to the guidance and the mentorship support, that these must be complementary to what we at our own institutions are experienced and have access to. The progress and success in this endeavor demands the creation of ecosystems within and between institutions. Okay, and you could, it was explained here that you can connect people anywhere, in the country and probably possibly outside of the country. But we need to create these ecosystems within and between institutions so that we can nourish, as we say, sorry, it depends on which school you went to, the creative potential and the drive and the energy and the commitment of a particular individual to developing and growing their career as a researcher and as a scholar. But that, as I said, that must be matched with an institutional culture and framework that says, yes, you can, and that says, yes, we will support you, yes, we will enable you, yes, we will make this available for you, since we see that you are driven, okay? Because that also cannot replace, access to these resources cannot replace the individual drive and commitment to advancing and growing yourself. So in closing, we trust that both the emerging researchers and scholars on the one hand, and the research and academic institutions on the other, will embrace Thuso Connect and Thuso resources to help grow the next generation of, here's a plug, NRF A-rated researchers of the future, as well as Nobel laureates of the future for our national system of innovation. I'm quite certain as well that there are and there will be complementary initiatives and programs on the part of the NRF that will come together and complement and enable and support initiatives of this nature, in order that we can move and progress our people, that there's progression from the lowest levels to the highest levels of our research capacity across all of our institutions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Ngumani. Really appreciated your support, and you can see definitely there's still more room for that support from the NRF. And of course, working with the DSI and the Department of Higher Education and Training. Colleagues, basically that's the last item on our program, but I'll just use my discretion here. I know that you are pressured for your time, but just because there may be a burning question, one or two that probably we can handle. This was mainly meant, this front desk was mainly meant for that panel. So yes, thank you so much for coming up. Just to check, if there are any questions you would like to ask. So I was thinking also that, so in fact I was told first that I should encourage you to check LinkedIn, check Facebook for the videos. It will show here also after this program. Quite exciting, actually, as you heard, the characters that you have heard about already are featured in the video. And so I think, there was mention, for instance, of, I know, these things excite people, mention of Tinder. So should you forget, for any reason, what we were talking about today, and you really want to market it to the colleagues, just say it works like Tinder, And then, and of course it's not Tinder, so it works like Tinder. And then, I'm sure you'll get some people curious about that. And then, once we get that curiosity, of course, it's Thuso Resources and Thuso Connect. So just any burning questions, colleagues, that we can take, I'm sure you would like to ask, and you have heard already again the emphasis that it's live. So this already you can connect to and create your profile, and especially for people who have got mentorship to offer, the mentors. I don't know whether that was a hand up or it was half up. Okay, it was not up. Yeah. Right. Any questions? I think the presentation was very comprehensive, I suspect, and therefore, maybe there may be very few questions. Now, should people have questions while working on this, Dr. Jordan, is there a platform for Q&A somewhere there?
There is a feedback form on both of these systems. On mentorship specifically, we thought about things like we live in a country where GBV is taking place. We don't want to put a system out there and not give someone a way to let us know that I've engaged and I'm not comfortable with the mentorship partnership that I'm in. So you can send an email and the team that's behind the scenes will know and can actually activate that. But it's also just an email system, so if you have any other questions, if you're registering and you're feeling like there's something you want to highlight for us, please do that. And on Thuso resources, we do have a feedback form as well. Perhaps one of the resource links are not right, or you know of something that we can add, or you just want to tell us thank you. It's there.
Yeah. Thank you is welcome. Yeah, thank you. Prof. Burton, I know that we owe DSI that component of monitoring and evaluation, but this has been engaged with by the DVCs, particularly DVCs of research, and given feedback and so on. But in that area, can you tell us if there's anything more, that you can share with us? What is next, for instance, in that area of DVCs and the leadership at the universities?
Thank you, and thank you for that opportunity to remind the DVCs of research that this is not done. We will develop the monitoring and evaluation, and I will discuss it with all of them. But this is an ongoing program. This is not finished because we've launched it today. There will be an ongoing discussion with all of the research leadership and postgraduate supervision communities. As we go forward, we still have another couple of years of support committed already. We will maintain these websites, these platforms, and we will hope to develop them according to what feedback we get. So the feedback is going to be really very important. But I think the important thing to realize is that these are live and ongoing and will be available into the future. I hope that the value that we demonstrate in the next couple of years will be sufficient for there to be further support later, because this is not a short-term project for anybody, an early career academic, an institution, or any of the departments. So it will continue.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm not going to put you on the spot, Becky. You've already told us, for instance, that there is another report that's coming up for launch, and also that there is potential work on that, and I suspect also connected to the platform that we are launching today. Yeah, there is just one more hand. Dr. Matutu?
For me, it's just a comment to thank the colleagues for the sterling work that has been produced. And just to clarify the fact that within the Thuso Connect, only the mentors can connect. Within the Thuso resources, only the emerging researchers confirmed by universities can connect. I just want to clarify that. Secondly, on the issue of the resources required from universities together with mentors required from universities, my suggestion would be that as we report this to the Research and Innovation Strategy Group, we can send a clear message of what it is that we require. that will be shared with the board at the end of June. So in that case, then at least it covers all aspects, leadership, teaching and learning, research, and so on, which is unlike maybe engaging with the DVCs for research only. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that. And let me just clarify, if I may. At the moment, with the Thuso Connect, we are inviting mentors to register. We will announce and send out messages as soon as we're ready for mentees to take advantage, but we do want a group of mentors to be available. In terms of Thuso resources, anybody can take a look at that open website now because so much of it is open access. But for a small section of those items that are featured there, they won't be shown unless you have registered and we've established your connection with the university. It's not only the early career researchers, I mean anybody who's is a member of one of the universities or one of the agencies, which includes NRF and CSIR and so on. But if they have a connection with one of our research organizations, they will register it and then they will be able to see the stuff which is not only open access, but is shared in the sector. We do have a copyright clause over all of this as well to protect the IP. And yes, we will be very happy to present all of this to the board as a package as soon as we have the opportunity. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Peggy, I just want to check with you because I'm going to close it now. If are there any remarks you would like to make over and above what you have shared with us already?
No. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Question.
Oh sorry. Yeah, I didn't see. Yes, ma'am, please.
I would love to know, how do you plan on keeping these platforms sustainable and maintained? And also, how are you going to measure the success of these platforms? Oh, my name is Mapabalo Boroto from Research Professional News.
Research Professional News.
By just saying we have a maintenance plan, if you like, which will make sure that new information goes in and people can use the information. And so far the horizon is some years. It will still remain with USAF for now. The Director General has told us that we need to think about a longer term home, maybe as we go forward. That's not resolved, but there's no intention that this should be a short term exercise. And the Thuso monitoring element that we are developing now will give us that indication. It'll draw feedback and allow us to determine the success. But we're not putting detail to that at this stage, but it will work to give us the information, not just about usage, but also about success.
Maybe let me add from USAF point of view. As you've heard earlier on, this is a collaboration. It's not only collaboration between these organizations, DHET, DSI, and USAF. It's a collaboration among the universities. And so that type of collaboration is also sets itself, for a longer period of sustainability, especially if there is participation from the target, target market, researchers, mentors, mentees, and of course the fact that there are resources that are available. And those resources mainly, is the academic material, and not just the guides that are there for these various groups that are going to be participating in this. So the nature of it sets itself for long sustainability. And of course, with the monitoring, then there's the determination on what interventions can be made if there is threat of sustainability. Thanks. Right. Yes, I was with you, Mr. Hadebe. Just last thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think these are exciting times. But one of the problems that this initiative is addressing is that has been lifted quite consistently in our 10-year decadal plan, 10-year/decadal plan, that of a system that is chronically siloed, without the movement of knowledge, resources between institutions and also between sectors. The gulf between, for example, the HDIs and the historical advantage institutions in terms of, access to mentorship and other necessary resources. We hope that this platform, using the capabilities of what digitization and IT and ICT, information communication technologies can afford us. It's one way. We're trying to promote access and equity in a number of our programs and offerings, whether it's in infrastructure, in terms of having tier 1, infrastructures, but also very localized, regional, and in line as well with the change of name from science and technology to innovation, moving to grassroots and broadening, access and participation so that no one is left behind. So we are in it for a very, very long run. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. It's good to hear that. Colleagues, the video, I want to call it film. It's a short film. Please make it go viral by visiting those sites that are mentioned. So it's ready for showing, and we invite you. It's not many minutes. I just didn't count how many minutes because I watched it over and over again. So please, we invite you to watch it, and then we're going to close it after this. Prof. Burton has said quite a number of thank yous already. Dr. Matutu has also said thank yous to a number of people, and in my opening, really, it was also paying tribute to all of you and the people that have been involved since the beginning of this. So please make this spread at your institutions. And I want to invite you, if you are not registered, for instance, with the DEN, Higher Education News, please do so, because there was already material there this morning. So if you are registered, you get emails every morning. Then you would have opened and then see that there's already something written about it with DEN, D-H-E-N. Yeah. So are we ready with the video? Thank you so much. Enjoy.
The Advancing Early Career Researchers and Scholars Programme is the way that Universities South Africa, USAF, is contributing to the development of academic researchers in our national higher education sector. The programme is supported by the National Department of Science and Innovation, the DSI. I'm Professor Stephanie Burton. I'm a research fellow for USAF and the leader of the programme. Let me tell you about two components of the programme. Thuso means help, and we've developed Thuso resources in response to a need for a national toolbox of helpful resources for early career researchers and scholars. In the interest of working together collaboratively to build strengths, South African universities are partnering in sharing instruments, resources and training offerings on an open access online platform. Thuso Connect is the second platform designed to give any South African academic researchers an opportunity to participate in a nationwide, interactive online mentorship program. Individuals who are seeking mentorship and others who are willing to offer it can meet through the program, and work together in a partnership. The platform provides an effective, ethical way of introducing mentors and mentees.
My name is Dr. Phil Mjwaha. I am the Director General of the Department of Science and Innovation. The DSI seeks to boost socio-economic development in South Africa through research and innovation. We as the DSI are so excited to be supporting the mission we identified in the study we called Building the Next Cadre of Emerging Researchers in South Africa. The project called Advancing Earlier Career Researchers and Scholars is sponsored by the Department of Science and Innovation. I would like to request that we embrace all the advances offered to us by this technology, and particularly by the two online platforms. Let's encourage learning online and virtual mentorship. It is an honor for the Department of Science and Innovation to be part of this project.
Thuso Resources and Thuso Connect are available for any early career researchers in South African universities. You are welcome to visit our website, and I invite you to follow us on social media and to stay connected with us. I encourage any researchers and scholars to explore the Thuso platforms and to share them with your colleagues and contacts.
I'm Matlubi Mabizela, also known as Chief. I'm the Director of Operations and Sector Support at USAF. I have a long relationship with this program from its conception whilst I was at the Department of Higher Education and Training. I'm happy to tell you about two exciting platforms that we are launching today as part of the Advancing Early Career Researchers program. Thuso Resources is an online academic resource platform that is meant for both early career academics and researchers, as well as supervisors, that provides a comprehensive menu of publications, video materials, and upcoming seminars. We are bringing together in collaboration with all 26 universities in the country to share their best practices that would otherwise be only available at a single institution in the spirit of promoting academic excellence for all South African scholars. Thuso Connect is the other platform with the primary objective to connect early career researchers with experienced scholars and find mentors to build and support their academic careers. This is not an easy terrain for young academics starting their long careers, and therefore we want to harness the wisdom of the experienced academics. Both these platforms are the first in the country at a national level and are meant to make the life of early career academics easier. We are not aware of other initiatives elsewhere in the world. In our case, it has come about from a study on early career researchers reported in 2019 and a follow-up of implementation of recommendations in 2020 and 2021.
My name is Eunice Maishibe Marema. I am a major in the South African National Defence Force, and I am also a master's student from the VEDS School of Governance. I love education because I think if you want to empower societies, you must give them knowledge, which is through education. And I think the initiative that Thuso Connect came with is a great initiative to help mentors and mentees to meet on the platform, to share ideas from different walks of life. And it basically means accessibility, because you can access all resources through the platform. So I think this platform is the best thing to come out of universities of South Africa.
My name is Nosisi Feza. I'm from the University of Venda. I'm their Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research and Postgraduate Studies. And my mandate there is to enhance research as well as supervision of postgraduate students. And here in the program, my mandate is to develop resources for mentoring novice researchers so that we can have quality professors that will be able to take the research agenda forward and be innovative enough to address the societal problems that South Africa has as the mission of USAF. This program benefits all researchers starting from those who graduated their doctoral programs and then are beginning their careers to become professors. And therefore, they need to find resources that enhance them and support them as they are growing and developing to become the high quality researchers that we are looking for in the country. I request and require all novice researchers to use this platform to enhance their own quality so that they can become what they aspire to be as the researchers of note that this country needs and desperately need currently and for the future.
Mentorship was identified as a key need for our early career researchers. We listened, and therefore this program is grounded on empirical research. Please register on these platforms and explore what they can offer you and broaden your imagination.
Being a researcher and building your career can be quite a daunting task. And today, I am going to tell you more about two amazing new platforms called Thuso Resources and Thuso Connect that have been developed. Thuso Resources has articles, advice, and flagship programs from all universities in South Africa. So stay tuned so I can tell you more. My name is Dr. Ulebogeng Silivi, and I am passionate about empowering early career researchers and scholars. The first platform is Thuso Resources. Let's check it out. There is more than one way to navigate the platform. Choose one that works for you. First, on the homepage, you can go in through the top navigation bar. Secondly, the quick access icons of the categories. There's also a third option. You can use a research function if you know what you are interested in. If you don't know, that's okay. The resources group can perhaps help. Once you enter a category, the keywords may spark some interest or give you a topic that you want to explore from more than one angle. Firstly, take the pressure to publish, for instance. The keyword gives you 3 articles to explore. Another keyword, supervising research, has 4 articles at the moment. These will grow as contributions are made. Do you have any feedback for us? We'd love to hear from you. Go to Contact on the top navigation. The feedback option is included. As the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know. Thuso Resources can help you find your way. Sign up today, it's free. Follow us on social media at Thuso Resources and Thuso Connect. Our second platform, Thuso Connect, is a national online mentoring platform for South African researchers. We developed Thuso Connect to allow early career researchers and scholars in South Africa to participate in a nationwide interactive online mentorship program. Early career academics seeking guidance and wanting to make progress in their careers can register and search for a suitable mentor to advise them. We invite established, experienced academics and researchers to register as mentors and share their wisdom and guidance. The Thuso Connect platform provides an effective, ethical way to introduce mentors and mentees and to assist and guide them in establishing a successful mentoring partnership. Upon registering, Thuso Connect will ask the mentor and mentee to share professional information, thus setting up a profile for the matching process. We have a tried and tested expert matching algorithm that connects mentors and mentees with the highest percentage potential for success when partnered. From there, workflows and resources guide the mentoring journey. Thuso Connect, helping academics to connect.
And that is the crew that produced this video. Very nice colleagues. Thank you very much. Right, this is the end of it, colleagues. You are invited to have some nice lunch outside here at the foyer. And otherwise, please make this video go viral. You know, and I know that you are on LinkedIn at least, which is our professional platform. But of course, you've heard that it's also on Facebook. Yes, we look forward to engage with you more on this. Thank you so much. Thank you again for attending. Great.